Welcome to OWAD Today. I'm Sophie, your pilot into the universe of Chinese. Let's continue unpacking boxy characters this week. And yes, it's another thing trapped inside a box. And this character is a little bit debatable and complicated. I hope to make it simple for you. This means cause, pronounced as yin. So I guess we can remember it as yin and yang, right? Everybody knows that. And in yoga is yin, and same pronunciation, flat tone, yin, and that means cause. And we all know cause. Thinking about cause, thinking about why, or thinking about cause and effect, this logic stuff, that's quite a human thing, right? And at the beginning of language, early on, like how we conceptualize that. Does humans start to think about whys from the very beginning? I guess so, because we have this character. All right, let's look at a little bit earlier time. Traditional, exactly the same. 2,000 years ago, Xu Chen Dictionary. That's the first standardization, based on the first standardization in the Qin Dynasty about 2,200 years ago. And this is about almost exactly 2,000 years ago's version, have this peripheral thing, this exact same full enclosure without any knots, like here, the contemporary form. That's kind of a written form, because when you write, you have to have this very end. But here is a continuous line of a circle with kind of starfish human figure in there. So here is the divergent of two interpretations. The standard, or the most popular theory, is this is another version of human figure. We simply describe human both from the profile view that's facing toward the left, that you have this front straight liner, more straight line human body, and more curvatures on the back side of the body. That's profile view human figure. This one is a frontal view of human figure, almost like a pretty buff guy, right? With arms, like doing that. And it's a starfish. It's like a typical stick figure, human figure. And we can totally see that as one of the many, I guess, garden varieties of human figure rendering, because we can view humans from the side or from the front. Nobody view human from the back, huh? Okay. At least the two angles to look at the same object and have different interpretations. Then eventually one win out. This profile will become the dominant singular standardized way. But before the standardization, this exists too. So I can see that. Then is the question, what's this circle? Not circle, like a rectangularized circle around it. Does it mean it's another prisoner? Like what we had yesterday from profile view human figure? And especially now, it's a cause. Like how to explain why a human in this closure becomes cause concept. Well, according to these scholars who probably thought pretty hard and then comes into agreement that this human figure, instead of lying like a prison, right? This wall on the four sides, here is a mat, straw mat, which is open. Like the human figure is free to go. It's not an imprisonment. However, it's a mat, provide cushion and protection from the ground. And this person lying on the mat, and we can say, okay, this is an aerial view. And instead of have this three-dimensional wall, that's prison, right? Four sides walled. We have a flat bottom there. That's like two-dimensional. So that's the beauty of Chinese, that we're using this two-dimensional frame to depict our four-dimensional world. So it's totally up to interpretation. So that interpretation, humans supported, rely on, or reclining on the mat, eventually becomes rely on, based on. And when it's based on, it's close to, the cause. So based on what? So on what base or what foundation you come to this conclusion, right? So that kind of cause. Second interpretation is by the author itself of this dictionary 2,000 years ago. Xu Shen is saying, okay, this is the character big. And this surrounding enclosure means an area. And the Chinese area is a relative area. It doesn't necessarily mean, well, let's say it this way, positive way instead of a negative way. This surrounding rectangularized circle enclosure can be paired to create a concept of country, whole nation, the whole land, which is massive, right? And we talked about how we can cut that piece of land into smaller lots that become farmland. But by itself, it's kind of reaching to the edge, the circumference, so to speak, of this frame. So that's like the borderline of our existence, right? So, or at least our land. And we also see this on a prison concept. So that means a small enclosure, like a prison cell. So it can be as small as this cell versus big land concept. So same image, interpreted differently. And I think this is the beauty of Chinese. We don't lock into a particular scale. We can be free to be stretched, to fit into different contexts, to look at things from different, magnitude. So this case, this concept of big, which means combining two pieces into one, well, that's my interpretation. Or small is cut pieces into two. So this combining into one makes something bigger, right? The scholar Xu Shen's interpretation is this big, to achieve anything big. This land serves as the foundation. You need to have a solid foundation. We can see that this big is standing on top of the foundation. Depends on if we want to 3D model it, we can shift it to different angles. So to achieve anything big, build anything big, you need to have an even bigger foundation. So we can visualize it like a pyramid, right? Big base, and then something big or tall. So that's the second interpretation. And that interpretation is not based on Paleolithic artifacts that's ancient carved onto stones or bones characters that scholars collected and documented over the years and kind of came up with theories and interpretations of how we come up with the concept of cause. This is more romantic, poetic, philosophical interpretation of things based on his learning and his worldview. And I guess as a later day, like 2,000 years later than Xu Shen, that my interpretation could be either it's a human or the abstract concept of something big or achievement, right? We need that foundation. So this box thing serves as the foundation. And this human or this abstract concept of big inside is the goal, the result, the achievement. So with that, we have 因果报应. 因果报应, cause, effect, fruit. We use fruit to mean the result of something. 报应, 报 means to report. 应 means to respond. So report, respond simply means the payback of something. 因果报应, cause, effect, payback is a Chinese way to say karma. 因噎废食, because you choke on food, then you abandon eating altogether. And we all know how ridiculous that would be, right? So Chinese uses common human behavior or occurrence to mean a small chance negative experience shouldn't prevent you from giving up the whole beneficial thing, which is kind of survival necessity as eating. 因循守旧 means you follow. 循 we can view it as societal, habitual, I guess, habits or customs. So you follow the customs, and 守旧 guard the old way. So which is a Chinese way to pick different characters, but say it twice in two ways, two servings, and therefore minimize the misunderstanding. 因循守旧 simply means somebody who stick with the old ways, refuse to progress, to adapt to the new ways. And there you go. 因, thank you for your time. See you another day.